horizons, where the future of well being begins with the power within. I'm your host, Saima, and today's guest is Julie Heaton, author, mentor, health coach, Reiki master, and a former corporate powerhouse turned wellness trailblazer. With books like the Manifestor's Playbook and a children's series that inspires the next generation, Julie's mission is simple but profound to help people lean in, heal deeply, and live their best, most vibrant lives. From manifestation to microbiomes, we are going on a healing journey, inside and out. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You're warmly welcome. So, Julie, let's start with you have led in both the boardroom and the healing space. So, can you share what inspired you, your shift from corporate executive to holistic guide?
Yeah. I I spent 30 plus years in like you said, in a corporate environment, really
Mhm.
a hard driving space. And I excelled. I did well at it, but I was very unhappy. And I had spent those years seeking outside validation and approval, trying to fill a hole in myself that I didn't even understand. And um, it wasn't it wasn't satisfying my soul. And at the end of my career, I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. I was really living other people's stories about me, who I am. I integrated expectations of and opinions of other people into my story. So when I quit, um, I had to figure out who I was and what made me happy and how I wanted to show up in my life and how I want to feel in my body. So that's kind of that's kind of how that transformation started.
You know, that's that's such a powerful journey, and it's fascinating how life can lead us from structured strategy to soulful service, indeed, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I spent a lot of years just really in the way I was brought up in America and in my family was that you life was kind of this prescription. You were a kid, you went to school, you got a job, you got married, you bought a house, you had kids. There was no deviating from that. That was the method, that was the expectations. And so by the time all that happened for me and I was in the middle of this career, I was just doing it because it was expected of me. It wasn't something I had thought about, something that I wanted. It just was the expectation. And it wasn't until I was started asking myself some deeper questions like, am I happy? What do I want out of life? Those are questions that I just didn't ask until much later because I was on this path that was set for me.
Mm. That kind of transition is actually powerful because it speaks to listeners who are feeling called to pivot but don't know where to start.
Yeah, it's listen, when I left my my job, my corporate career, I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea who I was or what I wanted. And I started with the basics. I started with sitting in the pain of it and in the when you leave a job and a life where you're busy all the time and you have all this structure, cu- uh, just having free time feels wrong. It feels like you should be always doing instead of just being. So it took me a while to just be comfortable being in my body and sitting in the discomfort. And then I was able to start doing some things, some free form writing and writing out how I felt about things. Then I started just easy meditation, and then I started with gratitude list. And then I just started adding these things to my life to help me figure out what makes me tick, and to unravel the stories of other people that were placed on me. Like, who am I without all these stories? And I just kept pulling at little threads until I figured out who I am.
So, can you walk us through one daily manifestation ritual that actually worked?
Well, for me, the meditation actually works. I know it's kind of a
Mhm.
scary thing for a lot of people, and it feels, um, hard. But the truth is, there's a lot of ways to meditate. And what you're looking to do is quiet your mind and listen to your intuition. So it doesn't mean you have to sit on a meditation pillow for an hour with your eyes closed. It could mean that you listen to a guided meditation, or you take a walk out in nature without your phone, and you listen. And a meditation can be done in a lot of different ways, is what I'm saying. But the truth of it is, you just need to center yourself and quiet your mind so you can listen to what your intuition or your heart wants to tell you. And it will give you the clues. It will give you the nudges you need if you listen.
Mm, mm. I love that approach. It makes like it's both magical and practical at the same time, Julie.
It, it is. It's magical, and it's we have so much input all the time on, especially nowadays. With just always input, social media, books on tape, I mean, podcasts. We could have constant input, but it's important to just stop and sit in the quiet and learn how to be with yourself and how to listen to your intuition. It's the number one thing for me. And then from there is gratitude, being grateful for where you are right now and what you have right now. Um, stopping comparison about what other people might have or what you might want. Just being totally, totally grateful for your life, and waking up in a bed and taking a breath, and whatever you have right now.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, Julie. Now, you're also deeply passionate about gut health. So, why do you think that gut health is such a vital and overlooked part of personal empowerment?
I I've always been interested in health and wellness, not to the extent I am now, but 30 years ago, or longer, actually. I keep forgetting how old I am. Um, I was I was the one that brought my lunch to work every day because I wanted to know what was going in my body. I would tell people, if it doesn't come from the planet, you shouldn't eat it. Our bodies are these miracles, or these beautiful things that are given to us, and it's our job to take care of them as best we can. And and so for me, that's putting good things in my body. And the gut has been really overlooked until the last few years as an important part of the process of your body. And the gut is, they call it the second brain. It communicates with your brain. It's where most of your serotonin comes from. It's where most of your immunity lies. It's a really important factor. And if we put things in our bodies that it doesn't understand or can't process properly, it throws your whole system off. It creates all this diversity in your body. So what we put in our mouth really directly impacts, well, our moods. It impacts our immune system. It impacts our physicality. It impacts a lot of things. I mean, there's really nothing it doesn't impact.
Absolutely, that makes so much sense. It's often like easy to overlook how our internal health shapes our confidence, energy, and clarity.
Yeah, right. It's there's one thing. There's being healthy and well balanced. That really, like you said, gives you the confidence to walk into a room and to push doors open and do what you need to do. Yeah, when you're not feeling good or your energy's low or you're feeling uncomfortable in your body, it's harder to get motivated and get out there and show the world who you are and what you can bring, what you can offer.
And Julie, I think that this gut mind connection is where science and energy work meet, and your work bridges both beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So, like your book, The Adventures of the Fabulous Three, what's one message, Fabulous Three, that even, adults need to hear today?
Well, The Adventures of the Fabulous Three, it's a children's book series. I wrote it I wrote the children's books as a guide really for kids and parents. I figure when parents read the book, they get the message too because they have to read those books so many times. And the books are all about self-love and being kind to others and kind to the planet and being uniquely you. So the messages are all very positive, all very filled with goodness and love. So I would say the one message I would tell people is let your kids be themselves and teach them to love who they are, not who you expect them to be.
That's noteworthy. Healing is generational, and stories, especially for kids, can plant the seeds of resilience.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's so much for me personally, there was so much generational trauma that I had to release from my body and understand. There was trauma from childhood that I had to release from my body and understand. And then there was also just stories, like I said before, that were put on me on who I am and who people wished I was that I had to release and let go. And I tell people that if I had those kids' books when I was a little girl, I might not have had to write the Manifestor's Playbook because I wouldn't have to go through all that. I would have already known to love myself.
Now, like you teach people how to lean and undo the work, that's really great. So, what's one truth you wish every listener could carry with them after today's conversation?
One truth is that there's nothing, I keep saying it, and I hate to be a bore about it, but there's nothing more important than self-love. When we learn to love ourselves unconditionally, you find inner peace. You don't need to seek outside validation. You don't need anybody else's approval. You can write your own story from there. And you can only give what you have. So if you don't love yourself, it's really hard to love other people. You can only give what you have. So you can love to the extent you love yourself.
Absolutely. It's actually so comforting and empowering to hear that healing isn't a race, it's a rhythm, no?
Oh, it's a rhythm for sure. I tell people it's a practice. It's like anything else, like building any other muscle. You have to keep practicing and building these habits and um, forgiving yourself. So when you fall out of a habit you think you had, um, or you get triggered by something you thought you had gotten over, it's a journey. It goes up and down, and um, it's until we're fully enlightened beings, we're going to be on this journey, and um, it's just practice. It's just practice. We're doing the best we can all the time.
Absolutely. Julie, you reminded us that the body speaks, the mind creates, and the soul already knows the way. Whether you're manifesting a dream or restoring your gut, healing begins with permission to grow, to feel, and to change. Thank you for joining us on Healing Horizons with Saima. Until next time, listen deeply, nourish wisely, and believe boldly.